Hey folks, I just back from DICE. It was an amazing conference. I meet so many people that I was connected on LinkedIn for ages, and we have more than 80 talks, and I still need to go through all the notes because I was not able to be on all these talks and so on. And I talk about two topics, and one was the self-sovereign identity and artificial intelligence agents. And I have plenty of videos about this. And another talk was actually the sovereign data beyond of the verifiable credentials and how we could organize the vaults for the credentials, how we could organize the vaults for the data that are non-VC. And actually, it's what I want to talk about today, for sure. And wallet is a super cool thing, but usually you need to store the data somehow inside the wallet. And actually, Vault is a more abstract storage that allows us to store and retrieve the credentials, and not just credentials, but we will talk about this later. And for sure, we want to be secured. So quite often, Vault it's the storages of encrypted data, and even this fact that it's storage of encrypted data already create a lot of challenges. So, for example, I was working for a company Affinity, and I built the Vault for the credential itself. And we made it end-to-end encrypted, so the service doesn't even know what kind of data is stored. But for example, there it was the need that you could query the credential by credential type and credential ID. And what we did that we just encode this field or encrypt this field with the user uh, key, and we make sure that we don't have correlation, we don't have any other things. All the data was actually based on the user encryption key, all good. But the side effect of such encrypted blobs mean that you're not able practically to run the complex query over the credentials because you simply don't see the data. So it's a big question how to combine fully encrypted and unencrypted data with the structured queries, because another thing you need to scan all of them on the client side, they encrypt them, decrypt them, and then run your queries, and it could be quite computational challenging, and it's one of big problems of the vault, even for the verifiable credential. Another challenge that in a presentation submission you could ask the questions to the wallet to give you back some concrete credential, and it's worked quite well and it's cover a lot of things. And right now people work on the more expressive query language there, but at least on my time it was practically not feasible to run the queries that allow us to say that I want this gaming credentials with the highest score of some parameter in your wallet. I faced with this limitation of ability to compare credentials in a wallet multiple times on the real projects, and my solution for this problem was actually take the credentials that are JSON LD, so they are linked data, turn them to the triple store and run the SparkQL queries on top of it. And I even have the video that goes in depth for these features, like how to turn your wallet to the database and how to treat your credentials as a relations and interconnected graph of values, because actually every credentials is JSON LD and they could be linked to each other. So it's quite interesting concept. If you keen to learn more, watch my previous videos and actually follow me on the Medium. It's described there. But what next? Right now we have a wallet, right now we have a credentials. We don't even talk about the problem of the ownership, linkability and all other things that credentials have. But what's next? Because when I start building more and more the real use cases for the applications that are SSI powered, I discovered that I have a big problem, and we have the elephant in the room that majority of the data do not fit the verifiable credentials, and even more, that user already have the data in completely different format, in completely different representation, and even process of reissuance all the thing could be quite challenging. So what we could do with the user data that still needs to have a notion of the ownership, but will never be as verifiable credentials, at least on the storage level. And I had this real use case for our Kin application, and for a long time I was quite happy with the decentralized web nodes, because in the decentralized web node you could put practically any kind of data. You could specify what kind of data it is. You could specify some specific protocol topics and passes where you could store this data, share this data with others, set the permissions, and indirectly prove the ownership of this data in your DVN. So the decentralized web nodes give us ability to work with non-specified data, but preserving the ownership and controlling the permission, how we want to share this data with others. Another quite cool benefit of the DVNs, that you have the subscription, so you could distribute your data. You have another features that actually allows you to create the decentralized relay-based network of the storages. So it was super cool, and we was happy with it quite long time. But we had a little problem with the decentralized web nodes, that in decentralized web nodes we see the data as blobs that actually don't go deep to the data structure. And what we should do, if we have the structured data and we want to run the queries on this data, then we lose the ability to query the data. And in DVN, some data blobs could be fully encrypted too. And the solution to the structured data usually is a site index, and then you could have a lot of strategies how to replicate the site index like the classical databases. For sure, you could turn your update of the databases to the action-based CRDTs and distribute it via the DVN mechanisms. And if you're capable to do so, you are fine. But if you have more structured data that impact to each other and more state-based CRDTs, then you need completely different mechanism, and it's still a big challenge how to build the vaults of the sovereign data that are structured in a decentralized and replicatable manner, and it's what I'm currently actively working with the team to make this happen. Why we need this? Because we want to have cross-device experience of our data that not we see, that we want to really structurally query and ask some tricky question about the data and get some benefits. So if you want to follow more, connect to me, ask the question, follow my Medium channel, and I will be happy to share more. Choose.